Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Author Ash.
You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast.
Before I jump into today's episode, I want to remind you to get signed up to receive information about our first Boss Collective Zoom party here on the podcast. The plan is to kick these off in March. And you may be asking, what is a Boss Collective Zoom party? Well, it is a time that we will get together, about 8 to 10 of us, to discuss a topic that will help us in business. You can ask questions, and you'll have the opportunity to give a 60-second pitch or plug for your business. And this will actually become a podcast episode. So don't fear. Go check out the link in the show notes to stay in the know and get information on our first Boss Collective Zoom party. Don't miss out. This week's episode was inspired by a conversation I had with my daughter and one of her best friends in the car. I told them, I don't know what I want to talk about on the podcast this week. Usually my ideas come from helping customers, working through business challenges, or sometimes just things will hit me during the day. So I turned to them and asked, actually, I was driving, so I didn't turn to them, but I asked, what would you like to know about starting your own business? Keeping in mind, these are teenage girls, and they both, though, expressed like the desire to have their own business at some point. So I asked this question, and one of them said, I just don't know what type of business I should start. Should I focus on interior design or graphic design? The other asked, how do you scale a business? I thought for a moment and I said, those are very good questions. They're also very broad questions. And I thought, you know what? Those are great topics though. And my goal over the next couple of episodes is to work through answering both of their very, very good questions. Today, we're starting with this. How do you know which business is the right business for you? Or if you're already in business, how do you know if it's the right one for you? Let me take you back for a second. I've always known I wanted to own a business. Even back in middle school, I had that dream. I had that thought, but I didn't know what that business would be. I sold candy, sodas, and freeze pops out of my house for much of middle school, and I like to joke that my grandmother was my first employee. She was actually free labor because I never paid her a cent. But then I fast forward to college, and I did a brief holiday internship with my family's State Farm agent. I was trying to figure out if risk management and insurance was the major for me. And I remember telling him then, I know I want to be a business owner someday. I mean, not only was he a State Farm agent, but he also had rental properties. And I expressed this to him, but I also went on to express that I don't know what that business should be or what I wanted it to be. And his response to me was, don't stress, you'll figure it out. And you know what? He was right. It wasn't until Ethan and I stumbled upon the idea for Stuffer Grease that things really clicked into place. If you're in that space where you know you want to be a business owner, but you're struggling to figure out what to build, I want to talk to you today about some key factors to help you decide. And we'll start with 3 points here. The first being passion, but not in the way that you think. A lot of people will say, follow your passion. But let's be real, that advice can be a little misleading. I am not in love with embroidery. I don't wake up every day dreaming about threading needles and running machines or creating artsy designs. But what I am passionate about is building a business, serving customers, and creating something valuable, and creating something that they are excited about when they receive it. They get to show their passion on their fashion, which is one of our taglines. I say all this to say, don't put pressure on yourself to be obsessed with the product or service itself. Instead, ask yourself these questions. Do I enjoy working on and growing a business? You may not know the answer to this yet, but just kind of put yourself in that space. Do you think you would enjoy it? Do you like solving problems and creating solutions for people? And the third question is, would I be excited about the process of building and scaling this idea? this idea in particular. Again, you don't have to be in love with the thing, but you do need to love the process of delivering and creating the thing or providing the service. Number two is expertise. And the question here is, are you willing to learn? Because you either need to have expertise in a chosen field. Like, for example, if you go off to law school and you become a lawyer, then of course you may someday own your own law firm. So, do you have expertise in a chosen field? Or are you willing to learn what you need to know in an area? Or another option is to partner with someone who knows it. For example, I'm not an artist, but Ethan was, or Ethan is. He's still an artist. He hasn't really picked up like paint and canvas in a long time, but he's still an artist. He still can do graphic design and all of those good things. He and I were both willing to learn embroidery. Initially, we didn't even know what it was called. And then we went on and we were willing to learn how to do other decorating methods and how to run a retail store. We were willing to learn how to hire and manage people. So the key is, are you willing to learn the things, or are you willing to partner with someone who knows the things or know what you need to know to run this business? If you already have a skill, say graphic design, accounting, cooking, organizing, that's truly a great place to start. But if you don't and you're interested in something, you can learn. For example, take my guest from last week's episode, Whitney Bonds. She didn't start out knowing anything about affiliate marketing or creating a YouTube channel, but she was willing to research, experiment, and keep going. Even when she failed at something, she would pick herself back up and keep going. So ask yourself these questions. Do I already have knowledge or skills in an area, in a specific area? Am I willing to put in the time to learn if I don't have the knowledge and skills yet? Or maybe you don't have it to the extent you want it. Are you willing to learn? And the third question here is this something I could see myself getting better at and mastering over time and actually enjoying that process? Skills are what you need. I've actually had the opportunity to talk to people who've lost a job in the past, and my mind automatically goes to what type of business could you build around your expertise and knowledge? Because typically, if you've worked in some type of professional role or career, you have a skill set. And if you have skills in some area, you could be a consultant or a part time, whatever. For example, a laid off accountant could perhaps be a fractional CFO for a small business who can't afford someone full time in that role. And though I understand an accountant and a CFO aren't exactly the same, for a small business to have someone that's paying attention to the numbers like that on even a fractional basis is a great thing. Kind of thinking about the skills and expertise that you already have and how can you parlay that into a business. And the third thing is market viability. Will people pay for it? Whatever it is, a service or a product. You can be as passionate as you want to be, and you can be highly skilled. But if nobody's willing to pay you for what you offer, and I've said this before, it's just a hobby. Maybe so much fun, but it's just a hobby. Your business needs to solve a real problem that people will spend money on. So you want to ask yourself these questions. Is there a demand for the product or service? Who are your competitors? That's important to know. And are people currently paying for something similar? And another question to ask here is, how can you differentiate yourself in the space? How can you be different than the competitors? What will set you apart? If there's no market, if there's no customers, then it doesn't matter how much you love it or how much skill you have in it. It's not a business. You can't make it or turn it into a business. I want to bring this all together. If you're trying to decide which business is right for you, I keep asking you guys to ask yourself these questions, and you may want to write these down or listen again, but ask yourself these questions and write down your answers. Do I enjoy building a business even if I'm not obsessed with the product or service itself? Again, you just need to be more obsessed with the process of providing the product or service. Number two, do you have expertise in the field, or are you willing to learn or partner with someone who does have expertise? And thirdly, is there a market for it? Again, will people pay for it? That is important. If you aren't bringing in money, you aren't making revenue, and you don't have a business. But if you can answer yes to all three of these questions, you're on the right path. And if you're already in business and struggling, revisit these questions. You may find that you need to pivot, refine your offer, or even start fresh with something that aligns better. Next week, I'm going to tackle the second question that these young ladies ask: how to scale a business. If you already have something going, but you want to take it to the next level, don't miss that episode. And if this episode has helped you or you feel like it's going to help you move forward in your quest to either own a business or grow your business, send it to a friend who's thinking about starting a business as well. Share it with someone. And if you're still unsure about what business to start, feel free. You can DM me on Instagram at Become Your Own Boss Podcast. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to learn, like, what are your current skills? What are you interested in? And let's see if we can figure out a business for you. You can also join me on one of the Boss Collective Zoom parties. You can see the link again in the show notes for that. And please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And remember, now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.